Welcome. Come on in. I'm Vicki Dixon and I am a human design marketing strategist and copywriter. And tonight I'm going to be joined by Megan Williamson. Megan has a signature course called Pin Potential and she is one of the Pinterest OGs. So she's going to be here to talk to us all about how to use Pinterest for business. Megan appeared on the Pulse on Human Design podcast today. I am just going to search her here so that I can invite her in. You know how this works if you've been here before, that it takes a little bit for Instagram to find us. So we're just going to we might not have sound while she's joining. Sometimes that happens. Okay, I believe that Yay!
It's funny because I could hear you and then I couldn't see you. So I
I
had the
know.
moment of like, oh no.
Instagram is so
Oh,
weird that way. Like, why can't they make it easy for us? Yeah.
because. And then they always change things. I have to say, I actually had that panic where I was like, I just assumed everything would be the same. And then I was like, well, that's weird. Why can't I see the live? And then, anyways.
And here we are. You know what's not like this, changing things all the time like this, is Pinterest.
It's like that old steady friend.
That's right. And that's what Megan is going to be talking to us about tonight. Sorry, I was just trying to tag Bodygraph chart.
Yeah.
So, welcome here. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you being here. I appreciate you appearing on the podcast this week. So, for those of you watching, Megan was on the Pulse on Human Design with me this week, episode 47, I believe it is, and she's talking all about the power of Pinterest in your business. So, where shall we start?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I haven't stopped thinking about my human design chart.
I know it's a thing.
It is a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all, yeah, just like I'm always interested in those things. But with Pinterest, yeah, like we could start anywhere you want to start.
Well, what I would love for our listeners to know, our viewers to know, is why Pinterest, why now?
Sure. So, well, from a very wide, like there's a few things that always come up. One, if you're somebody who like, you might understand the value of social media, you might, like me, like I know what to do on social media. I like social media at times, but there are other times and different reasons where I might not feel like being online so much. I might not feel like doing a live video. And I think that we think, there's sort of like two little piles. I feel like this is not the most wonderful angle. There's sort of two, no, this isn't good either.
Oh, it's all good.
Find a spot here. And what I find is often Pinterest, like from a sort of a high level, can always offer growth for a business owner who knows they need to market their business but is looking for more sustainable solutions. So things that, when I say sustainable solutions, I mean marketing that will work for you when you aren't necessarily working. And I think that's why, like just from a personality perspective, that really, really resonates with me. I've always been like, when I'm on, I'm on. And when I'm not, I'm not.
Yeah.
And so, I like to go out and enjoy my life and not worry if I can, oh shoot, I didn't upload that reel. I love marketing that works for me and can be discovered for, I always say weeks, months, years, but we know like you can optimize something and people can discover you literally 5 years down the road. I actually have an old outdated pin that goes to a blog post that I just haven't updated it yet. And there's like a small part of me, I'm like, rats, why does that pin keep sending me traffic? It's about like an old one about Etsy and Pinterest. And I just don't really feel like updating it, but I'm not deleting it because it's still a good blog post. But yeah, so it's like, it's one of those funny things. I think though, if we were to talk about things that are happening right now, which is relevant to the conversation we had on the podcast, is that we're seeing big changes when it comes to search marketing. So when we talk about search marketing, we're talking about Google, Pinterest, we're talking about, YouTube, Pinterest, and Google are sort of like the giants of search. And what we've noticed, and a lot of people have been affected by, and when I say affected, I mean a loss of traffic, a loss of revenue, and kind of like shocking. Like I talked to somebody who she went from, what were her numbers? It was pretty incredible, like 20,000 visitors in a month from Google to 5,000. And she like was sideswiped. And so she was talking to me about Pinterest and how important her Pinterest traffic always was when she was impacted like that by Google. So what we're seeing and why it's so relevant to right now, why Pinterest, is because with all these changes in search marketing, people who used to get a lot of traffic from Google or have authority on Google no longer do. And so
Okay.
but they're also the same type of people that might feel drained by social media. They might just say, you know, like either we don't have the capacity for creating a lot of short form video, which we all know is what these platforms want, like TikTok, even YouTube to some degree, you know, that people make shorts and Instagram reels. And so a lot of entrepreneurs are looking for marketing solutions that will help them regain a footing when it comes to search marketing. And Pinterest is one of those platforms. And that's what's really, I'm seeing a lot of people sort of like come, you know, sort of bright eyed to the Pinterest world because they're like,
Yeah.
wait a sec, this is really, really a cool opportunity for me. And, you know, or even there's just been, I think, a big, and I observed it recently with an event I'm running, but there's a big turn away from wanting to support Meta,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And people, even if, you know, you don't mind supporting Meta, I think we're all getting a little tired of being on all the time. Social media is such a you got to be on game, whereas Pinterest, like it's just this quiet thing
Mm-hmm.
chugging along in the background.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we're reaching peak, like some of us have been online a long time,
No
right?
kidding.
And so
Yeah.
like it's sort of like we see things come and go, we are aware of what's happening, and there's also been this shift that it's like, is this filling up my cup or taking away from it? Is this what I want to be, you know, sort of remembered by? Is
Yeah.
it like what's going to happen in the future, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
Well, well, actually, the most popular pin, and I left it on there just for kicks and giggles, and it's from 10 years ago from a business that I no longer do. But I cleaned everything when I worked with you, but I left one because I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is kind of interesting to see the amount of traffic that comes. We're not going to get that on any other platform,
No.
really and truly.
Yeah. Like those old, that's just it. And I think that's what people who have been using it strategically for a long time, they'll just say like, there's nothing like when you really kind of market your business and understand when somebody is actively searching for the thing that you speak about online, for the solutions you offer, find it, read your binge your blog, binge your podcast, binge whatever long format content you're linking to, and then they say, it's funny, I don't know if you can hear those notifications. I have not been on my phone all day, so my phone's going
Oh,
crazy. um, but I feel like, what was I saying? Just I don't know. There's just been so many shifts. I think that we're sort of like we're really feeling that impact of like, well, if someone reaches out to you and then says like, "Oh, I found you on Pinterest and then I read a blog post and I just thought it was so good and it was so helpful and I wanted to reach out about a service you have or a program," like you're just like, "Oh my God, it happened." Like
it
it
worked.
might
Yeah.
that like past Megan or past who, you know, Vicky, like thank you, right? And there,
Yeah.
I think we all know like we put a lot of like love and a lot of thoughts and a lot of our own efforts and time into long format content, whether it be a podcast, a video, a blog post. So it's such a shame when you create one and it's like maybe people don't see it down the road because for whatever reason, right? You don't talk about it. I was actually thinking that like I create a lot of blog content and Pinterest and search send a lot, but I'm like, I wonder, I should really start talking about it more in my other channels, right? Like, it's just like, that's what a smart marketer would do. That's what I would tell somebody else. But we just don't, right? Like, we're often sort of living in the moment on places like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It's like whatever's happening right now, right here, which is
Mhm.
funny because Pinterest is a little bit different. It's driven by your past self. Whatever you added a year ago or a few months ago can be what is like currently. Like me, I have a blog post even myself that I added in, I was double checking the date. I think it was the end of October or November, and it's currently going viral on Pinterest. And it's kind of like, that's so cool. Like, so, you know, even myself, it like never gets old when you're like, oh, that's amazing. Like something I did like 8 months ago when my work was a little bit quieter, and it
Mm,
has organic traffic coming to me every single day right now.
which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Because right now you are mid-launch
Oh God.
and feeling a
Yeah.
little tired, I can tell. Feeling like, oh my
Yeah.
God, did I commit to this 5:30 live?
Oh, yeah, it's just today's the last day. Well, the last day where I
Oh,
live teach. And
oh,
then
okay.
actually from here, it goes down to like kind of like
Yeah,
chill mode. Chill mode.
yeah,
My glasses, even
yeah.
my glasses are dirty. But yeah,
Everything's tired. Yeah. Yeah.
actually, what
So,
my team said to me, they said, you look and sound cooked.
oh, that's what launching is like. But on the podcast, we had a little bit of a conversation around how Megan is using Pinterest in her launch. So you're definitely going to want to tune in for that.
Mhm.
And I'm going to ask you, I really want to honor your time here tonight as well, but I would love to ask you for someone just starting out with Pinterest, they're hearing you and they're
Yeah.
going, you know, I've been saying I'm going to try Pinterest forever. Like, what is the first thing that they need to do?
Yes. So what I would say is try to make your life as easy as possible. Of course, like someone like Vicky who went through my program knows that I sort of have like a sort of like a process. But when I think you're just getting started, if you're like your curiosity's peaked and you're thinking like, I really want to see, but of course you're like, I don't know. What I would encourage you is to look at your top performing content. And so I always think about, and you can define content in whatever type of content you enjoy creating. If you are someone who loves writing like Vicky, like think about your blog posts. If you have a podcast like this one, right? It's sort of like if you have something where you can bring people and it's something that you already are engaging with doing. And also this goes for YouTube. So like I have people who have very engaged, active YouTube communities, and they put out videos every week and they've built that up. And so they really want to bring people there. But think about sort of long format content, and then think about it, are you making Instagram reels? Are you making TikToks? Do you have content that has really resonated and served your audience? And just start with that. Bring it to Pinterest. Do a little bit of light keyword research. So Pinterest is driven by discovery and what we call keywords. So whatever the post or the video or the content you're going to be linking to, whatever it is about, just pop in one or two keywords and do a little bit of light research to really see like what are those keywords that people are actively seeking for as it relates to your subject matter expertise, and optimize it for Pinterest. And honestly, I just get people to start there now because I think it sort of like allows people to freely explore it, and sort of see, hey, look at this like old carousel I made, or this like amazing little TikTok that did very well. When I repurpose it to Pinterest, it's actually helping me grow. And so that's really what I tell people. Do a little bit of keyword research, repurpose some content. If you have a blog post that, is evergreen and does really well, just try making 5 pins, right? Make 5 pins that have text overlay, and then add those, have one go out a day for the next 5 days, and just let it simmer. See what happens. And that's really what I recommend to people.
And I think that's one of the biggest beauties of Pinterest is that it's not like Instagram where you have to come back in next time you do something and you got to engage with the rest that you did and you got to check on replies to your stories
Yeah,
and all of these things. And like Pinterest just isn't like that. Like you set it and forget
that's
it.
right.
As long as you're putting regular content
Yeah,
in, feeding the beast, you're okay.
yeah. I think that, and I think there it kind of can detach you, or even like I know, like I would schedule content.
Mhm.
So like I was going to be busy my launch period. So like 2 weeks ago I sat down. I just got some new pins in my queue. I optimized them. I'm not worrying about any DMs. I'm not worried about, because really what I would be doing is driving traffic to my website. So if
Mhm.
people want to reach out, they can fill out my contact me form, but I'm really looking at my content to work for me when I go through busy periods, or I just don't have the energy, or I have my head down about something else. And that's what's really beautiful. I have to say that I do sometimes feel bad if someone writes me on Instagram and I'm busy and I think, oh, I'm going to come back to it. And then you don't, and you feel bad, right? Like you would never walk away from somebody mid conversation, but that's what these mobile devices are kind of doing to us, right? Is that we feel
Yeah.
like constant conversation, which is Pinterest. Folks are not expecting that on Pinterest at
Yeah.
all.
So, what is the biggest mistake that you see people who are trying to use Pinterest or start
Mm,
out using Pinterest? Is there a common
Well, there's a
mistake?
few themes that come up. One, people don't really give it long enough. So they
Mm,
get very impatient after about 2 weeks, sometimes max. you know, the number of inquiries or comments I get that are sort of like, especially on TikTok, where it's like, I've been doing everything and I'm just really disappointed and my stats are very low. And I'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, can you tell me about that? And you know, as a good person gathering the data, and it's like, well, I've been on this was an actual conversation I had. Well, I've been on it for 20 days. And
Oh my God.
I said, well, that's barely enough time. That, like, you know, really, I'm hoping to at least have 3 months of data. Like it's a slow cooker. It is not gonna.
Oh, we lost sound.
Oh,
There we go.
something came. It was trying to ask me if I wanted a hand gesture.
Oh,
Like, I think maybe that's an accessibility feature.
yeah.
It was actually kind of cool, right? That it was like, oh wait, do you need
Yeah.
an accessibility feature? That is really amazing. Technology still. Like my son had to show me how to use this thing.
Oh,
So sorry.
okay. Gesture. It must have done a gesture thing again because the sound went out again.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I keep my hands down. Like, so what I would say is you need to give it 3 months really to get going. And then you can step back and say, you know, what's going on here? I think it's all just data. So even if in 3 months you feel like it's been kind of slow, it's a slow build and it compounds and it will keep going and keep going. So that's a big mistake. And then I would say often, and it's kind of connected to a similar topic, is inconsistency. So people will show up, do a little bit, walk away from it, come back, do a little bit more, and it's sort of like in and out, and there's no rhyme or reason. So that's a really big mistake. And then I think the last kind of mistake that I see people making is really not considering how your Pinterest audience is different from your audiences elsewhere. So people will have a lot of success on, say, Instagram, which is lovely, right? But they'll bring what they have experienced and had success with on Instagram to Pinterest without thinking about how that audience is different. And so that is one mistake where people just seem puzzled by it. And so they'll say, like, well, I don't get it. Like, this did really well. But it's just a very sort of different perspective or point of view. So people are just at a different place in their journey on Pinterest. They don't know you. So you really have to think about your content is what is that first touch point and how can you make it inviting, clear, and concise and let people know exactly what you're bringing them to, what it's going to do for them. And when you kind of reframe it like that, people are like, oh, like it's just like it's like putting a sign outside of your house, right? Or your shop, and that people don't have to guess what kind of shop you are, right? Like they want to know that you are it's a shoe repair shop, or it's a nail shop, or a shop that sells radios. Like there's a reason why we put signs outside. So I feel like sometimes on Instagram, we create content for our audience who already knows who we are. So you don't have to provide that extra context and clarity because you assume, well, you already know me. You watch my, you watch my lives, you follow me. Whereas Pinterest, every pin is being discovered by people who have never met you. They don't know your deep level of experience or expertise. And so you kind of, when you think about it like that, it's like, oh yeah, like you should introduce yourself. You should let people, try to avoid jargon and use sort of the language of your audience, not necessarily your expert lens.
And then I think there's something to be said around these kind of micro niches like human design. So the Pulse on Human Design is a human design podcast, and we serve human design practitioners and astrologers. And there's that's like super niche in that market, and so it takes a little more research, and it takes a little more actually remembering this is like the toppest of your funnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
It is. And I think also through that lens, acknowledging that, yes, there will be some people who find you on Pinterest who are more expert level, but most people are in that stage of curiosity. They are exploring the concept. And so what are the types of things that they're thinking, experiencing, and how could you serve those early level top of funnel questions? And that is what makes it so different. It's interesting too, because there's an opportunity in that people on Pinterest tend to use Pinterest to explore concepts that are more inward, that you maybe don't necessarily want, somebody to know that
Mm.
you're doing, you're planning to learn more about these particular things. Not that there's anything like, it's just more like, it feels like private. So it's like where you can store all these ideas for your future self, things you want to take action on in the future. And I think that when we think about, I would use broadly the category of personal development, like there's a reason why I have the word personal in it, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
development of self, where you feel like you're not sort of in the eye of the public. Whereas I think sometimes on Instagram, it can feel very, like and didn't they also start showing people something like, again, do you remember back when Instagram would show you when someone you knew liked a
Mm-hmm.
post and you'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's that? Or you'd be like, I didn't know they were there. I didn't know they liked that person. Like it really, it
It's
really,
it's weird.
it was really
Yeah.
weird. And I think that even now, though, you can sort of still see some of those things. And I feel like Pinterest still has this aspect of like private curiosity. So, which I think in particular, very good for people. Um, for certain niches, you can see that someone's like, oh, I really want to learn how I could use this to improve X, Y, or Z or better understand myself.
Mm. And I think with Pinterest too, like when we're saving content on Pinterest, I'm not a big Pinterest user for personal use, but I'm working on a new website right now with a brand designer. And the first thing she did was create mood boards in Pinterest.
Yeah,
And so she
always.
saved them,
Mhm,
or like if I'm looking for some color for my kitchen,
mhm.
I'm actually going back to them. Like the stuff that I save on Instagram, I am never looking at that again. Like I have to get honest with myself.
Yes.
So
Right.
when somebody's
It's
saving
not
your
the same
pins,
thing, right? Like we
yeah,
might be able to save content on Instagram or TikTok, but it's cumbersome to return to,
yeah.
or we just even forget. Whereas, don't you find like that's why people started screenshotting? Don't
Mm,
you like no one talked about screenshotting 10 years ago
yeah.
because it just wasn't. And whereas now, like people will be like, oh, I screenshotted that
Yeah.
because saving it, you're never going to go
Yeah.
back to it. Whereas on Pinterest, we've been conditioned to use the platform. Actually, I read this or listened to this interesting podcast that was about the consumption habits of people on different platforms. And actually, it links to what I was talking about earlier, that people come with different intent
Mm,
on different platforms, and we consume content differently. So the example that was being used, and I think this will help sort of clarify why I'm bringing it up, is that they were saying like if you have a podcast and you auto shoot the whole thing over to YouTube without any consideration for the consumption patterns of YouTube, it's probably not going to be very successful. You might have a few that kind of do well. That's like luck, but as a strategy, it's not very effective. And they were talking about this, and I was thinking a lot about that, about how on Pinterest, pinners' consumption patterns are so different and so aligned with a future self, making a decision in the future. And I think that it's a funny also illustration of this idea where we never go back to what we save on TikTok or Instagram, or I don't personally either. Maybe some people do. I shouldn't say anyone, just some. I personally don't know anyone who does. And whereas on Pinterest, we're conditioned to always go back to what our pins were that we
yeah.
saved.
So somebody could find you a year after they saved your pin, they could find you again,
Exactly.
discover your content. Yeah.
Like even actually, I remember I was saving paint chips for our cottage, and then I ended up I did it, but then I was like, oh yeah, what was that color? And I could go back to something I had done like a year before,
Yeah.
and I saved it, and I was like, oh great, oh yeah, it was Benjamin Moore, and it was this color. And I think sometimes people also don't kind of think about that ecosystem of how people make decisions, and it's not often a direct line. So if you even think about that, that would have got lost in some
Mm.
back end distribution system because it was a year later. But like, I did the research, saved it, looked at it with my partner, made a decision, went to the store, got the samples, bought the paint, then a year
Yeah.
later went to my Pinterest account, looked up the names, went back to the store and ordered it again. And like they will never know some of that attribution, but I think that's how customers can be as well, or clients or our audiences, is that sometimes they're filing away ideas all the
Yeah.
time.
And they're not going to ever find that screenshot that they took from Instagram on their phone. At least I'm not. No.
I'm
So
older.
Sorry?
I say that
A folder, yeah.
folder, that
Yeah,
folder you never return to.
exactly. Yeah. So actually, you talked about search intent or user intent or something. I took Megan's old Pinterest course, like the way back Pinterest course is so
Mhm.
amazing. But even then, you talked about like think about how people are coming to these platforms, and it really made me start to think. And
Mhm.
you are launching
Mhm.
Pin Potential again right now.
Mhm. I am. So I've run in some way, shape, or form, I've taught Pinterest for over 10 years, but I first had a membership. I had a course within a membership. And then after 5 years, I ran a membership for 5 years. And I do love that model, but I just didn't feel that it was serving my audience anymore. I found that people felt rushed to do the course, and there was different feedback. And so I did transition. It's a course, and so we opened the doors yesterday. I always run a free challenge 3 times a year. And then after the challenge, I open up the doors to my program. And it's phenomenal. We've had incredible results. I refilmed the whole course. So that's what's different from when you were with us, is that I refilmed the whole course and I embedded AI in the course to really help people get quick results, new resources, and new format. And it's going so well. And it's just nice because I think so much things change really quickly. And yeah, it was like I shed like an old, I don't even know how to explain what that was like, but as someone, that was sort of like I put so much into the membership for years and
Yeah.
years, and I loved it, but it just got to where it felt like there were so many classes. And so this is very strategic. Like everything that's in it is sort of very aligned with the desired outcomes. And yeah, it's magical.
It is. It is. Well, you are magical. I'm not just saying that because you're
Yeah.
here with me. I
Yeah.
appreciate you being here with me, but I've experienced working with you, and you are absolutely magical at what you do, and you can tell that you care about the outcome for the people that you
Yeah.
serve, which is important.
Yeah.
So I'm going to link that up in the comments here with the replay. I'll link up the link to Megan's Pin Potential
Mhm.
program if you want to check it out. I think people can still get into the challenge even though it's
Yeah,
finishing up.
yeah. And the challenge is available till Saturday. So even if you join tomorrow, but you have some time on the weekend, you can binge all the videos, all the replays are available when you join us. And if you are hearing this once the date has come and gone, we will be running another one in September. So you can use Vicky's link and join that, or join the wait list, and then you'll hear when the next one is open. But we have a blast. It gives you a good taste for all the things that I love to teach. And it's that too has been something I've done for a very long time and had fun. And it is a labor of love because I am exhausted.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to being my introvert self.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the program is open till Monday.
Okay. So what I did, just for if you're watching here or watching the replay, what I did, because I know I'm not going to have the time to go in and I'm not like doing my own Pinterest things right now, I'm paying my VA to go through your free
Oh,
challenge.
good.
Because then she's going to
Yeah,
learn what she needs to know in addition to what I already, my notes from the course
yeah.
from way back when. And she's like so excited. She's having so much fun with you.
Oh,
Every night
good.
she sends me an email and says, here's what I learned today and here's what I'm going to do in your account. So if you don't have the time to do it yourself and you have someone else, even if it's your teenage child who can do it for you, your grandchild, think about something like that because there is gold that Megan's going to be dropping in this challenge, and watch the replays, do all the things.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Actually, we had another member whose daughter, who's in university, do it,
Yeah.
and it was the same thing where she was just like, "We really want to do this. We both want the knowledge, but she has a little bit more free time, so she's going to do the challenge, and we're going to like have a little group together."
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it works so well. So, other than that, Megan was on episode 47 of the Pulse on Human Design this week. I'll link that up with the replay of this live as well for you, so that it'll be here, and you can just click on Megan's name and get over into her world as
Yeah,
well.
thank you,
So,
Vicky.
thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thanks for having
Yay.
me. Bye, everyone.